Hey, good morning, everybody. I really appreciate the fact that you have decided to tune in, listen to this YouTube, my thoughts, how I see things. I do thank you for subscribing. I encourage you to share it with others, especially if you find value. It's touched on a topic that in the last podcast or last YouTube video that we have elected officials and not leaders. And I want to expound upon that. People that we vote for, that run for a public servant or political office position, are not necessarily leaders. They are elected officials, and we need to make sure that we use that term. A leader is somebody that we will follow because we believe in them, and it's not just a paid position. So our country and the basis of it, and let's not forget it, of the people, by the people, for the people. When we elect them, they go and they work for us, and they need to work for us, not be subservient to the people that are higher up that political ladder. We need to keep score, especially locally. I've said it many times. Our local government, our township and county governments are our first and very important line of defense against an overreaching and tyrannical government, state government and federal government. It's important that our elected officials work for us. Let's talk about the science of this supposed global pandemic, something that was supposedly created by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. It came from somewhere. It was created by somebody. And I'm not so sure that one of the crazy conspiracy theories that the NIH, the CDC, the WHO, and the CCP have all worked together, the money that the Obama administration and Anthony Fauci signed off on, that the millions of dollars that went to the Wuhan labs, virology labs, that then this escaped from? Or was it by design? I do know that we have, quote unquote, the science of things. That, as I've told you before, I don't believe the United States has been in a pandemic for weeks. I'm frustrated. I'm angry about the fact that you tell us we just need to bend the curve, flatten the curve, so that our hospitals don't become overrun, and yet they never became overrun, and we actually laid people off in the healthcare industries, turned the entire world upside down. And in my opinion, because they want to divide us all so that they can conquer us all, create that fear so that we're asking for help from somebody else. Our human immune system is the greatest combatant of viruses. We need to strengthen our human immune system before we do anything else. What's one of the ways we do that? Exercise. Now, we can exercise at home, but what do we know? A lot of us don't. But if you actually pay for a gym membership and you actually go to the gym, you usually do something more. It's not about a vaccine. And about this whole idea of the science behind it, it typically takes 6.2 years to develop a vaccine. We've never seen a vaccine developed for a coronavirus. The first attempt for mass vaccinations was the SARS-CoV-1. Now this is the SARS-CoV-2. And I'm obviously being a conspiracy theorist because I cannot prove any of this, but I can read. And something's not right in the quote-unquote science. So if force equals mass times acceleration. It's just one of the scientific equations I bring up. That's science. That's science here on Earth with gravitational pulls and atmospheric pressure as we understand it. I'm not certain because I've not spent time there and really looked into it too much. But is it possible that force equals mass times acceleration is not necessarily the same in a, let's say, vacuum or on some other planet in our solar system or someplace else? But I'm not there. It doesn't matter. I'm here. On Earth, force equals mass times acceleration. So how do they apply similar science to the coronavirus and this global pandemic? We've got 3 feet, 4.2 feet, 5.1 feet, 6 feet. Those are the recommended, depending on what country you live in, those are the recommended spacings of the science that says we can help flatten the curve. We can help control the spread. The spread of a suggested virus that is multiple times more contagious than the flu, and yet pretty much year in and year out, the flu virus, even as it mutates and becomes something else, most people get the flu. And you say, well, I haven't had the flu in 25 years. I get the flu shot, or whatever your thing might be. Doesn't mean you don't get the flu. Whether or not you're down for a day or 2 or 6, typically, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I can read. It typically means, how has your immune system dealt with this current virus that it has come into contact with? Just because I haven't thrown up, had the chills, had the flu, maybe I had a bad day, maybe I was a little bit tired, and then I moved on. I just had my annual physical not too long ago. My doctor, 27 straight years, he's had the flu, the flu shot. Haven't had the flu since, and he hasn't dead yet. That's good for you, doc. I'm not signing up for it. I'm going to continue to try to strengthen my immune system, and I'm going to fight viruses that for 5,000 years have not wiped out mankind. I'm very optimistic about being able to build our immune system and not take a pill. The same drug companies that have killed tens of millions of people through safe drugs. And face coverings versus masks. And I am not trying to say everybody that works in the public sector, whether it's, again, the essential workers, well, the grocery store people are the essential workers. The people working at the restaurants are essential workers. Our supply chains. But if you have a shield on, that's a face covering. And I'm happy for those people that choose the shield. But if it's just about what we are exhaling and inhaling, then that's not science, a mask or a face covering. I want you to think about what elements of control they're trying to get us to be conditioned for. Remember, we've been having a war on cash for at least 25 years that I can recognize. And at different countries around the globe, they've tried different things. And remember this, slowly at first, and then all of a sudden. And that's what we've seen. Part of it is technology, exactly how I'm exercising my First Amendment rights right here through this technology. This technology, as it continues to evolve and grow, allows us to be able to be part of this war on cash. In 1971, when we eliminated any sense of hard currency from the United States government, which is the global currency at this time, we then, you can call it monopoly money, it's just printed. But it's not even printed. I know you hold it and I hold it in our hands. But it's not even that. The vast majority is a computer. It's just a decimal point that's moved. on a computer screen. It's only in some recorded history that money was created, lent out. It's not real. I want us to think about that. And it's only science fiction today. Now, you're really going to think I'm crazy, but the Terminator series and artificial intelligence trying to be us versus them, man versus machine. This has been written about and discussed. This is end time stuff. We are experiencing it. What does it really matter if the end times is the next 5 years and the next 500 years? We see everything that has already been talked about in the greatest book ever written. We see it all playing out right now. I'm just a small guy that's taking a big risk, speaking out about politics, speaking about questioning, critical thinking regarding these topics. Why have I taken all this risk? Because I think it's important. Number one, exercise my First Amendment rights. Number two, to be able to have critical thinking conversations, questioning almost everything. And by doing so, I have eliminated the potential for employment and for upward mobility in a society that would reward people for not taking those risks. I will say, Vice Armory, glad I'm part of that company. If you see this and you want to take advantage of your Second Amendment rights while we still have them, please private message me and we'll get you in contact. Make sure you get your CPL. Make sure you get your ammunition, and there's many other things. So we're doing a lot for the Second Amendment in support of that. And then pay attention to everything. Going back to our elected officials, please keep score. I don't care if they have a D or an R next to their name. They work for us. Pay attention to the things, and this is going to sound crazy, but the things we do not see. So, in closing, the Vietnam War, because we had a television in almost so many more households, and every night we would watch war on television, on the nightly news. And we were horrified by that because we could see it. And it's not that the Vietnam War was anywhere nearly as deadly as World War II, but we didn't see it every single night, the updates. And so what we see can trigger a great deal of horror, fear. We don't like that. What you're watching me on right now, what I'm doing this phone, it allows us to have real-time information. Sometimes too quick. Some of it's fake news. Some of it is misleading. But it allows us to see something right now. And people are horrified by that. That it creates fear. Sometimes it creates laughter and energy and an engagement rate. But for the most part, we see things and a lot of times we don't like it, but it's not what we see here, folks, especially from the political realm, especially from the financial markets, from our politicians whether it's in Washington or our state capitals. It's not what we see that we should be afraid of. It's what we do not see today, but affects us tomorrow. It's what they're not telling us. It's what information we don't have. It's the code in which these elected officials speak publicly. I remember when George H.W. Bush first said this is a new world order. He was the first elected official that I remember saying that. And I also remember Obama saying, I want to fundamentally change America. He did. I also remember, I think everybody's in agreement that we need common sense gun regulations. That automatic and semi-automatic weapons need to be eliminated. The things that are unseen are much more damaging to the United States citizenry than the things that are actually talked about and seen. And I'll leave you with this. The legislation that they're trying to pass right now, whether it's $3.5 trillion from those that have a D next to their name or the $1 trillion of those that have an R next to their name, suggesting that they have any sort of financial responsibility. What's in that legislation that they don't talk about, that won't be on the news? Why can't it be? Why does it always have to seem to be thousands of pages? What is it that we don't see? Who's going to read that? And then it becomes law. I don't have all the answers. I do have a lot of questions, though. If you find this to be interesting, please share it with somebody else. Please subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, I hope you'll continue to share it with others. I thank you for your time, for checking in. We're under 20 minutes. Sometimes I write down some notes and just want to share it with you. I hope you have a fantastic and wonderful day. If you've been paying attention to me at all, you know I believe God is in control, and it's a great day to live. There's a difference between being alive and living, and I'm going to live this day. Really live. Appreciate it. I'm James Detroit, and I'm out.